Generally, I don't like to talk about this stuff as soon as the news comes out because despite the fact that I would definitely get a lot more views if I did, I value my public opinion. So I don't want to come out and say things unless I'm 100% sure, or not 100% sure, unless I'm very confident, I should say, in the thing that I'm saying. So when people started talking about the potential of a Fighter Pack 4 just based off of one sentence that Ed Boon says, I was very, very skeptical. So I went and looked at what Ed Boon said, and I thought about it. This is like a week after the initial news drop, and I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it. A lot of people are currently under the impression that Fighter Pack 4 is happening, or that more DLC is coming, and I'm definitely not going to say anything like that, but there is slightly more evidence than you might think. So for people not aware, in this interview, Ed Boon said something along the lines of, he was talking about the DLC release cycle and how Adam's on his way, Hellboy's on his way, and then there's going to be 2 more characters, and then he said, so that means we're going to be releasing, DLC characters well into 2018. And all of that on its own doesn't mean much. Just because he says that we're releasing well into 2018 doesn't mean that there's going to be more DLC characters. The problem with words like well is it's very subjective. I might mean, hey, we're going to be releasing well into next week. Well into next week might be Wednesday for me. Well into next week for you might be, Friday. It means different things for different people. He might consider well into 2018, in respect to what's happening with the DLC cycle right now, to be February. After that, though, he says, and beyond, which does seem to imply a little bit more than just February, which would be where the DLC ends, because we would have Hellboy, Adam in December, whatever's after that in January, and then whatever's after that in February. So for there to be something and beyond past well into 2018, that would need to be another character. And if you even go back into your initial pre-order of Ultimate Edition Injustice 2, or even just looking at the DLC pack, you'll see that the wording on Ultimate Edition is pretty specific. It says access to 9 new fighters as they become available. It doesn't say all anywhere. In fact, nowhere on this entire sheet of all the Ultimate Edition or all of the Fighter Pack stuff, nowhere does it say all. So I guess that could be interpreted to mean that there's possibly more DLC fighters on the way. However, even with both of those pieces of evidence on the table, I'm gonna go ahead and predict that there will not be any further DLC after Fighter Pack 3. Even though we would all want it, especially me, right? Injustice 2 is a big deal for me. Whenever a new character drops, I get super excited. It's a really fun time. We get to interact more with the community. Hey, and from a self-interested standpoint, I get more views whenever a new character comes out. So ideally for me, I would want as many as characters as possible, but I don't think we're getting any more. When you're in a position like you are as Ed Boon, you're constantly asked to do interviews, you're talking all day about the game, and occasionally you might let stuff like that slip. I mean, if you look at the interview specifically, Ed Boon looks like he's in a rush. I'm not saying what's happening here one way or another, but I could totally see this being plausible, where Ed Boon was rushing through the interview and didn't realize what he said until afterwards when the community started freaking out about it. Also, it's just kind of a scummy thing to do, to have an Ultimate Edition version of the game where it says, you get access to 9 new fighters. It feels very much like that means, hey, purchase this and you get access to like all the DLC characters. I know they never said that, but that's effectively what that pack was, or at least what it felt like. So if they're just going to add more DLC characters without saying anything about it, it would just feel kind of scummy for the people who did purchase the Ultimate Fan Pack. And one of the other reasons I really don't think they're going to do another Fighter Pack is if they were to do another Fighter Pack, I feel like they would need to do like a whole new set of Fighter Pack. The people who bought the Ultimate Edition, who now just have to be another person who buys the Fighter Pack. It just doesn't feel good to have 4 DLC packs and have an Ultimate Pack that purchases you only 3 of them. So if they are going to do more DLC past Fighter Pack 3 and they're going to do Fighter Pack 4, I feel like there has to be more than just Fighter Pack 4. There would have to be Fighter Pack 5 and 6, or at least 5. Definitely at least 5. And I really don't think that's happening. But those are my thoughts on the Fighter Pack 4 drama that's been happening recently. It's been really interesting to see the community talk about this, because it's something that, again, initially, I just dismissed it as random garbage that the community was overreacting about. And when I looked into it more, I realized, well, I can see why somebody would overreact about this, but it's still something I don't agree with. Thank you for taking the time to listening to my opinion. My name has been BILBZY, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.